Lasse, good morning. Thanks a lot for taking the time, man. How's everything going?
It's great. Everything's fine. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, we're pretending like we haven't talked like for 10
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
already.
It's just hello. Hi, Fabio.
Dude, I'm very happy that we have a chance to catch up. You are, I would say, a veteran in this field. How long have you been working in the field of architecture and architecture visualization?
As a professional, since I don't know, it's not 20 years, but almost. It's like 2005,
Okay.
2004.
Let me just paddle back for a second. As a professional, but you did it also as a non-professional.
Yeah, actually, my I've been doing 3D and stuff like that since I was a kid, you know. And I studied architecture. Um, to be honest, later. So I was, to have a proper education,
Yeah,
and then
actually, I do remember this thing because we talked about it once.
yeah,
When did you start studying architecture? How old were you?
2003, I think.
Okay, so you were already like 22, 23, something like this?
No, I was 21.
21. How old
21.
are you?
I'm 42, and I was born 82. I mean, it's
82.
I'm not
Okay,
that
so
old.
21. Yeah, makes sense. Sorry, my math didn't check.
I'm not. I'm younger than I look, probably. So
Dude, listen. Basically, there is a lot to your story because like you started this company called Soyo together with Peter. Is that correct?
somehow, yeah. I mean, we met. I mean, Peter is some years older than me. We met in the very beginning, and he was already doing freelancing stuff and having this label Soyo on it. And I came onto that, and we basically built that up from that on. I mean, it was, yeah, I think it was 2006 or something like that. It's long ago.
Tell me a little bit about the early days. Was it difficult to get started compared to now? Because now you're doing your own thing and you're on your own.
Yeah.
You had to basically start again from zero. And some people might say, well, it's easy because you already had clients, you already knew people, but it's
Yeah,
never really
it's
that.
never that easy. I mean, the thing is, back then it felt easier because um, it was much more easy to impress people. Having some basic GI rendering was like people blowing off their chair, like, look at this. Oh, it looks so real, like a real model. And it's different to today, where you basically where the expectations are much higher. But also, I mean, back then there was also some hesitation because people didn't really know what to do with 3D or rendering or something like this. It was more, people were kind of, some were more traditional and doing hand sketches, and because it had some more charm and stuff like that. So there was always it was never like people were like running into your door and saying, ah, give me here, it's my money, give me. It was never like that. It was always some convincing going on and some sales going on, but it was never like it was easier to impress people. And but I think, I mean, on the other hand, it was there's also something to this whole thing, is that doing good work or good quality work is just one part of it, or one part to it. The other part is like being someone people like to work with. I mean, um, or it's even more. I think 80% of success has something to do how you can deal with people or not.
The
So
work must have been very different. I mean, I started out making images in 2006, more or less. So it's
yeah,
around the same time that you guys started out Soyo. My workflow was very dependent on the fact that I did not know how to render.
mm,
How did you learn to render? Because back then, 2006, there weren't all these tutorials
Yeah.
on 3ds Max.
Yeah, I mean,
Didn't even exist back then.
I mean, it's. I started with very dodgy software. Actually, it was kind of vue d'esprit around. It's more today. It's more known for doing landscape stuff, but it also a very great rendering engine. And there was some app that was called World Builder, which had a very great scattering system. You could do like grass, plains, and trees actually, and then I think during the studies I was playing with Cinema 4D, and then when I met Peter, he was like he was on 3ds Max, and I was okay. And then I kind of learned that. It was also learning by doing. I mean, and also even back then it was much. It was easier to get into because you had little. The expectation weren't that high, and you could get away with much less effort actually too.
Well, effort. Maybe let's expand a little bit on this because
effort. I mean, of course, it was also hard work, but it was different. You didn't have to match exactly. I don't know the index of reflection for wooden table or something. It was more like, okay, it looks like wood. There's light. There are those blotches. It was more about getting something together which looked like a space and not like a SketchUp screenshot or whatever. So.
No. I do remember that. That's why I was actually asking, because like my workflow often was to take a SketchUp model, so remove the wire from the actual building, copy and paste the sky, and back then you had to go out and take your own pictures because there weren't like skies that you could download from so you get on top of a building, take a picture of the sky, and then you will paste it on top of the SketchUp model. And at the time I was doing a lot of work in London because that's where I used to live, and so we would go outside where the building was being built, take pictures of the road of the city, and then the model would sit there looking a little bit cartoonish, but then we would make the textures by hand. We would paint a lot of things, and that was basically the workflow. And you're right, clients were incredibly easy to impress because they would see something sitting on the road where the building was, but what I think was challenging for at that time was the actual process of getting everything together, because it required physical work, right? And also something that maybe people don't think about is that when you had to hand over the files, either you put them on a USB and then put it on a bicycle of a courier, and that person will take them to the office. And so, the client will call you. Or we would actually print the picture, because that was another issue, that every time that we would send the files, God knows what this client was looking at the files from, like maybe a shitty screen or something that...
print out actually, and then faxing it back.
And so the printouts, they would be terrible, the one from their own office. So we had to bring actually the printed pictures so that we will make sure that they will look good. It was totally different back then.
I mean, I remember times when we were doing animations, and downloading the animations from the render farm took longer than rendering actually. Especially when you were, I don't know, rendering EXR files, and it was take 5 hours or 6 hours to just download the stuff.
Was it difficult for you to convince clients back then that they needed renderings? Because architects, they tend to be very...
No, not really. I mean, it was, of course, in most cases it was people coming to you and saying, I've heard from your stuff, or I've seen it, or I know basically it was always somebody who knew somebody.
Yeah.
It was never kind of a sales thing that you were calling someone and saying, "Hey, I have the latest shit. You want it?" It was more like this, but it was more convincing in maybe the style of the render. You know, sometimes people were coming and saying, "Yeah, I want it, but I want to look at like watercolor because I don't want photorealism because that's too much, or we want to sell our project, but we don't want to be too open about how it would look, maybe because some things aren't decided yet."
Yeah.
So there was, and I also have to have this conversation still today, when especially architects are hesitant to be realistic. I don't know if it's an international problem, but I think it's
maybe this is very typical of the DACH region in general.
Yeah.
They like to have this a little bit of abstraction when it comes to their own work, because I think that the way things get approved in the DACH region is a lot more rigid, say, than in other places like America, for instance, or even Italy. Like in Germany, they really do check on all the specs, and so like having an image that is too precise can actually be a double-edged sword, because then people can compare it. And but tell me something. So in the beginning it was only you and Peter. How long did that last? When did you feel like, okay, now it's time to get new people to help us with the process?
I can't really actually say. It was at one point there was Bettina coming. It was Peter's wife, and she was actually getting into the office and doing all the administration stuff, because we were kind of at one point couldn't handle that anymore, like being on the phone and doing the work actually. So she was coming into the team, and then it didn't take that long when the first people came. But I can't actually say it must have been 4 years later, maybe 5 years later.
And by that time, it was already relatively easy to find people that knew stuff, right? Because it's
yes and no. I mean, basically, at that time, the most people that worked with us were starting as interns, actually, being students, doing the internship, and then graduating, and then coming back, and were kind of raised from the bottom, which was good, because you would have someone working with your workflow, being able to do the stuff like you use. I mean, I always, when I do stuff for other people or doing some freelance gig or something and get into another studio, I always, it's everywhere it's different. There's different stuff going on, and different knowledge, and I try to be adaptive, but I also experience people who are not who have difficulties to just switch and work differently, or have another software or different file system, or I don't know. That's so it worked out quite good, and I think most of them, or many of them, are still there. So. So it worked out, and well. But then actually I left that ship in 2018. I think so. It's also some years ago already.
2018, and then you decided to start your solo career. I guess you were looking for your own thing, right? You wanted to.
Yeah, I mean there was some when the company growing, there was some kind of things going on that I grew into a role which I didn't really fit in. I mean, I was part of the owner and C level. I mean, it's a small shop, but being a managing partner was you get more and more into administrative roles, and you also get more into situations where you, I don't know, have it wasn't easy at some point, and I didn't feel quite well, and I didn't feel it anymore that much. And I kind of grew into some role where I did a lot of technical administration stuff, like taking care of the internet connection. And I mean, come on, that's not what I came for. So I mean, I still do it myself in my small office, but it's different, you know.
I know. I think that this is something that people often don't consider when taking this route and try to do career. That at a certain point, because of the management that it's required in this field, there comes a time where you stop working on making stuff, and so it's like I get it. For some artists, it's like you look at the work that it's produced and you feel like it's not yours anymore because your hands are not in it, right?
Your hands are not in it, and the most important part is that when you are doing images, you don't have all the energy to do them actually correctly. Like you would do them half the day or half the time, or don't have between in German you would say zwischen Tür und Angel, you know, between door and hinge, and that's not how it works. I mean, we all came into this stuff probably because we like the work and we like the results, and we want to put love into it. And if we can't because there's no time, then it's getting difficult to actually do the work. And you and when you are in this kind of situation, you send something out to the client and he says, yeah, it looks shit, and you think, yeah, you're right. Then there's the point where you should reconsider how to set yourself up.
So in 2018 you made that decision. You started your own shop on your own. What were the difficulties when you started again?
I think the main difficulties was stability, because before that we took a lot of effort to get some kind of stability into the structure, you know, in terms of having enough work and being able to have some financial backup. You know, even back then there was times where there were good years and bad years. There were good times, bad times, and there was sometimes there was 3 months of the telephone not ringing. So that happened, and that in 2009 was one of these years. We are, you know,
2009 or 19.
2009, when Lehman crash. I mean, that was, and also the time 2000. I think 2016 was also harsh. So. But we put a lot of effort into getting kind of a stable thing going on, and then of course that wasn't there anymore. You know, I was like being alone. It was difficult to wrap the head around this, and especially when things like COVID came, and it was shortly after, you know. And also some personal stuff going on in my life, which weren't. I mean, I got divorced these days, so it was heavy stuff going on, and also some kind of strong strong things, you know. But that worked in a way that I had again the feeling of taking control of it. You know, having the power to change it, to like work more and get more money, get more stability, like that. It's different when you're in a larger structure where everything is more, you know, you put a lot of effort into, but you don't really, it doesn't pay off that much. You have much more things in between that happen. So.
Yeah, I think that, you know, like oftentimes we forget that, you know, life gets in the way of things, and it's really not anybody's fault. It's just that it happens, you know, it just happens. And I do think that a general discomfort exists in our lives when we feel like we're not in control of certain things, and so
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's different levels, and that's, I think, very important for everyone. Like living, actually, there's some things you have control of, and there's some things you don't have control of. And being able to distinguish, it sounds like a kitchen philosophy, but it's like that, in all the things that happen around you, there's some stuff you have no control, and there's some, but still something where you have control of. Like you have always some time to react to something. Like shit happens and you can react, and before shit gets really, really, really bad, you can still do something about it. It gets really bad when shit happens and you do nothing. So, but and realizing that gives a lot of more feeling of security for me, especially. I mean, being able to act when things go downhill is very good. So, and all the lessons that came towards me during that time and afterwards, and came towards all of us. I mean, all these lessons, I think, I feel better than ever before, so that's good.
now, how long did it take for you to go from, okay, you're a new company starting out, even though you have all this knowledge and all this experience, to feel like, okay, things now are finally working? How long did it take from 2018 until you felt like, okay, what I'm doing, I'm on the right track, so things will be good?
It felt like that. I don't know. I mean, you said it before. I knew some people, and people knew me, and were coming to me and saying, "You do your own stuff now. Let's do something." So I mean, I wasn't a no name, so it was kind of easy to get into some doors, and people were actually calling me and asking if I would like to work now for them. So that was kind of easy in a way, but having the feeling that it works out, I know there was happening so much stuff. It had to work out. I never did really think about, and it was always, but it was always a feeling that it could be better. There was some parts that was. I mean, there was this divorce thing. That was hard. There was with the kids and all this stuff. It's a whole other topic which doesn't really, but it's also part of the story. And there was also COVID. We all experienced this. It was weird, and there was also some stuff going on during that time related to this, like people, clients getting into trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, there was. I remember beginning of 2020 when a lot of real estate fairs just got cancelled. I think MIPIM got cancelled, something like this. So suddenly, clients of your clients couldn't pay anymore, and things, and all this stuff going on that was shaking everything up. There wasn't really time for thinking, is it good now? It was never really good. It was always like, oh God, where can I? How can I solve this? And until today, actually. So it's not that things are smooth and everything is great. It's more like now I might have found a way which is better than before, but it's not that. It's not, and actually, I really don't believe that there's something it doesn't exist. When you meet people where you think they are really successful, you might realize that they actually also have this insecurity and feel like they have to do something, to make the wheels turn. So I think that's more something to describe it. But I mean, when it really got frustrating was, I think, the beginning of last year, when things around me happened I couldn't control, and then every effort you didn't really pay off. It was like, I don't know, clients bankrupting, no work, what are you doing? You know, what's happening? And you could do stuff what you did before. I don't know, posting stuff online, calling someone. Nothing worked because everybody was like, oh, gosh, no, nobody knew where it goes. So I think yeah, having the feeling that you have some parts of it under control and that you can do something and things go further and wheels are turning. I think that's where you want to be. You know, you would never be at a you would never be at a point where you say, oh, now it's running. So it's more like having the feeling things are not dead, things are alive actually.
The whole reason why I asked you that question is because, like, we do have a lot of people in our community that, are thinking about doing their own thing, and they want to do something that they feel like, they're leaving their own mark.
Yeah.
And I do think that the majority of people quit because it's actually really hard to find that inner strength to say, hey, things are going to be good, believe in yourself, keep going. And in the case of somebody like you, where again, you bring all that experience, you're actually extremely skilled when it comes to all things technical, and still it, from what I understand, it took you almost like 6 years to be in a place where you feel like, okay, now I'm beginning, and I began 6 years ago, and now I feel like I'm doing something right. That things start to feel like they're making sense, and I just think that this gives us an incredible perspective on what it's like to run a creative agency, to run a creative business, even as a freelancer, because there is this general belief that freelancing is a bad practice, and I can understand why people might think so, because like, it's difficult to have to juggle everything by yourself, but it's not impossible. And people like you show that as long as you have the strength and the interest and the will of doing it, you can still do it. Then over time, maybe things might change, because you might change the interest and you might change your personal ambition. But the idea is that if you keep putting the work and you push through, eventually you will overcome that plateau that is making you bang your head against the wall all the time, right?
Yeah, main thing is I've I don't know. There's a book from some Swiss guy. I think Wolf Dobelli, I think is the name. He was it's an older book. It's a book about common fallacies, like things everybody does wrong, and one chapter in it is like you have to walk. You have to visit cemeteries. Out of 100 rock bands, only one makes it. The other just die. So, and there's truth to it, but there's also truth to that you can do something about it. When you put in a lot of effort, and that's, I think, the biggest part, being really, really, really hardworking actually. Like I don't know. I think that's the most important part, being hardworking and still being positive. Like if you just are overworked and complaining about it, like being like, I don't know, I haven't slept like 5 days. Everything's shit. I hate my work. That doesn't work. You have to be grateful about the opportunity to work so much. So I think that's the way. And for me, I mean, it might not work for everybody, but for me, it's something that it's like yeah, I need this to feel actually alive and to feel secure. and having the power to get into to actually stay alive and stay in the position to do what I love and not have to do some shitty work I don't like. So
which is also luxury of its own, right? I keep repeating myself when I say this thing, but like when we do get the chance to work on projects that we care about, which like when you take a career in architecture and design in general, you are still privileged to the extent that you get to do something that you always sort of like wanted to do. I've had conversations in the past with people that studied other disciplines, economy, business management, and they ended up doing things that they did not necessarily like. They just did it because that was sort of like the only chance that they had. When you get to do something like a creative job where you are tasked with using your creativity and helping people with your way of seeing things, I do think that this is a privilege of its own, right? Because you get to do something that other people don't do. You have a calling, and you use that calling to produce work that it's meaningful first to you, and also second to the client, right?
I think it's the other way around. I'm very happy to provide something for somebody that helps him or her for doing their stuff. And selling a building or something like this, or creating spaces and along the. I'm doing a lot of work in the process, not doing like sales images, but also in the process for design approval and stuff like that. And that's it's important, and it's important for my clients to convince their clients about their idea. The best that could happen is that you do some interior render, and the client, the architect, goes to his client and says, "Look at this. We want to do this," and their client says, "Yes, do, go for it." That's the best what would happen, what that could happen, and it's the best way how it works, and that's why I'm doing this. Like being able of enabling people doing their stuff and I think that's the most important part. Nobody cares about which render engine you use, or what light samples, or which HDRI you use, or stuff like that, or which scatter pack or whatever. Nobody cares. It's more about like you are the one. You can make these kind of images, and we need this, and can you do it for us? And that's what, and not being annoying when doing that. Just kind of try to be as nice as possible.
Lasse, another thing that I wanted to ask you is that you're very resourceful, meaning I see, on your social media, you post a lot of like experiments that you do. I think that this is also sort of like a crucial part of the way you do things, right? Because you're always learning new things, you're always implementing new tools in your workflow. You were actually one of the first ones to say, hey, look, Blender is a good alternative to general design software out there. And I remember being very curious about it because like I had stopped working for V-Ray back then, so I did not have access to a Cinema 4D license anymore. So I was like, how am I supposed to model stuff, And I started to use Blender, and I was actually blown away.
Yeah, I still use Blender, but not for the main app. I'm still on 3ds Max, and
because of the render engine.
Yeah, basically because of the render engines that are very seamlessly integrated, like Corona, F-Stone. They are just they work, and it's working good. I did some stuff with Blender and Corona Bridge back then, and I think it was Alpha or something before that, or Corona 7. I don't know, Alpha 7, I think. that was working somehow, but not that much. Was always some kind of exporting it to the standalone. It was blah blah, and I needed to be like Rocket, like I don't install any scripts. I just have the main app and Scatter, Forest Pack, and the render engine. That's it. I don't need, have much more installed. So I don't need. I mean, in most cases it has to be fast and reliable. That's what it's about. But being kind of in an experimental mindset is, I think. I don't know. I've talked with a friend about this lately. That I come from a tradition where it was part of it. Everything was new. Nobody knew how it worked. Nobody knew how to set up render settings and tweaking the subdivisions or something like that. So it was always like somebody found it out and shared it. And there's still people around who come from this tradition and I think still do it. And I'm still always eager to finding things out and sharing it. So it's not like it's not like having some secrets about it. And also it's important for me to, I don't know. I mean, the whole AI topic, for example, it's something that's new again, and people are finding out things. And there was some guy some months ago who found out how to replace rendered people with Stable Diffusion in images. And it was with some Facebook group, and when I was still on Facebook, I was looking into this, and I was expecting he would say, here are my settings, but no, there was a link like with a course. You could buy a course for $150. I was like, fuck off, dude. That's not cool.
It's a business today. It's
it's a business, but it's also that's something where I get very, very mixed feelings about this. I understand that you don't want to. But I mean, thing is, you wouldn't, even when telling your secrets. I mean, when you do something long enough, I mean, I know how to do this, but I also do shit sometimes. I also fuck up and deliver not good work, or have weaker times like that. And I know, I mean, knowing something isn't doing it, It's like 1% is knowing and 99% is blood and sweat and time putting into it. So I don't know. Of course, there's a reason why there are trade secrets and things like patents and stuff like that. But I think also, it's good to be open about everything. And I mean, of course, there are things that I'm not open about. Of course, I sign NDAs and don't tell anybody, and I'm also keeping secrets. But when it comes to this technical thing, like being, I have these secret render settings. Nobody knows if I use gamma 1.1 or 1.3, and that's because my images look so great. I don't believe in this, and it's more like sharing is caring, and biggest part of me talking with you actually is that we in the early days were very open about the stuff and giving stuff away for free, and that's actually.
I think I was at the Brick Masterclass, the post-production masterclass, and the way that they work is very much like we used to in the old days, because we did not have powerful render engines. I mean, when we started out, we had 32-bit systems with 4 gigabytes of RAM. That was the most that you could aim for, right? And so they have this way of doing things which is very traditional, so to say, with matching colors of references and so on and so forth. And I think that at the end of the day, this is actually the big secret, is that there is no secret. You just have to train yourself to recognize beauty, to see what works and what doesn't. It's never about the render settings or the that stuff, yeah, okay, you can become really good at understanding how software works, but there are people that can do very beautiful work, as you said, with like Force Pack, render engine, Photoshop, and the 3D tool. And there are no secrets, there are no plugins that make anything great. And now with this AI, if you're using Magnificent or whatever other post-production tool,
Yeah.
you don't even need that anymore because it's all like automated. But now basically what we're doing is that we're putting a lot more emphasis on ideas that work better than others, right? And so, but those ideas, they can only come to you either if you are a genius and you figure it out on the spot, or if you have a lot of experience in looking at good work and producing good work, knowing exactly what it is that you need to make it look great at the end of the production, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, but that's, I don't know. I mean, using these AI tools, like you just said it, Magnific AI or something like that, like upscaling. It's, of course, it's very intriguing because, especially in foregrounds, you just get detail that you wouldn't get there with a reasonable amount of work. So that's really great. And but still, I mean, the biggest part is yeah, what you said, the bigger picture. And the very big part is that one of the most important part is, and it took long time to realize that, is that you just have to get along with your client and giving the feeling that they get what they wanted. So it doesn't help when you do pictures that you like. So it's
very true.
So I don't know.
Lasse, believe it or not, we've been talking already for 50 minutes. I try to keep these conversations 45 minutes or less, just, because people get bored and they have the attention span of a banana. But, dude, I'll invite you maybe to have a call next week so that you and I can catch up because it's been a while.
Yeah.
But for now, I just want to thank you, for sharing a little bit of your story and some of your insights from this beautiful industry. I really hope that you can make it to Vienna this summer. If not, I'll come and see you in Berlin. Maybe I think I shall be in Berlin around June or something. I don't know. There might be an event happening at that time. Then we'll go and drink a beer together. Okay.
Maybe we see at the event. Probably.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Hopefully.
It's possible.
Dude, I want to thank you so much for taking time. I want to thank the people at home for watching this. I'm gonna stop the recording. Don't go anywhere so that I can say goodbye again to you directly. But yeah, thanks a lot for giving me your time, and I hope that we'll see each other very soon again.
See you.